Okay, so today we're cleaning and checking the adjustment of throttle linkages on a Mercedes M130 engine. And in this case, our subject car is a 1970 280 SL. And on this car, I'm having a particular problem with the accelerator linkage sticking. So we're going to explore all the possibilities of why this is happening. So for starters, one of the things that I had to pull was the bracket that goes at the end of the throttle shaft of the firewall. This throttle shaft is not easy to remove either, so you actually have to pull the valve cover off to really get enough clearance. But I put just a little bit of grease inside, in addition to copious amounts of PB Blaster. And after lubricating it and cleaning it now, it's ready to go back on. Now these screws can be really tricky to get to. They're number 2 Phillips head screws. And on a car sometimes where you don't know what kind of environment the car has been in, sometimes it can be a little hard to get these in properly. Now when you're screwing these particular screws in, you've got to insert them both at roughly the same time, and you have to pull the throttle shaft away from the firewall so that you can get enough clearance. I'm going to screw these in slowly and carefully because I don't want to damage these nuts. These nuts actually pop in behind the heater fan, so getting to them involves partial disassembly of the case on the end of the fan. The nuts though do snap into the firewall. They're captured nuts. They're not like welded studs or something like that, but I've had to replace them before on another car, and that was not a fun job. By the way, these don't have to be insanely tight either. Now, let's check our not perfect, but certainly much better than it was. Now, our challenge is going to be getting this thing ready. So I'm going to use my PB Blaster here just to clean and lubricate both ends of the ball socket. Okay, now some of you might have another product that you think works better. Good. I'm glad. That seems to move pretty smoothly. Same thing, we want to get this nice and clean. Now there's another ball socket under here that I've disconnected. Yeah. Stuff goes airborne really easily, but I still have not hooked the two together. Why is that? Well, I want to make sure that these are moving independently of the throttle linkage. And of course at some point we're going to have to change these bushings, which I also intend to do. Okay, so getting PB Blaster on this linkage down here is going to be really exceedingly difficult. And because it's so difficult, I'm actually just going to spray downward liberally until I know that some gets in the ball socket and just clean it with my fingers. Then, ever so slightly, I'm going to apply the throttle here to get the two pieces to line up. And if you heard that click, they snapped. Together. Now the big question is this thing actually moving, or returning rather. Seems like it, but it's still super rubbery. So why is that? Part of what I'm looking for movement in this shaft, if you have this nut in the wrong position and this bolt's in the wrong position, what can happen is you'll have not enough throttle travel. So this is your adjustment in the travel of your throttle. Let me go ahead and activate it from inside the car and see how it feels. Again, not enough travel. Pedals to the floor. So what do? Well, we make sure that this, see, that is pointing up. And then, and I mean all the way up. And then we tighten. So what I did was I loosened this bolt. And I pushed the throttle into the 0 position. I tightened. You'd think that this little bolt here doesn't make a huge difference, but it actually does. Problem is I still don't have very good return movement. Why not? And as you can tell, I've actually got a... Why don't I have any return movement? Well, now we're going to troubleshoot our lack of return movement. We're going to disconnect one thing at a time. It seems as if our spring here is just not pulling hard enough. Throttle pedal should return to the floor, but doesn't want to. Side, and we're going to go under the valve cover. Back down here, linkage piece that I never disconnected, and we're going to explore this. This is still too tight. The question is, why is this so tight? So let's go back to our pivot here on the firewall. And notice, when I tighten this thing up, that's when things start to get a little weird. I tighten this one up to about this point, and it's okay. This one's a little looser. We're still okay. We're still okay. All has to do with the order in which you tighten it. We're still okay. Now we're starting to get just a little tight. Now we're good again. So what that's telling me is perhaps I need to put a spacer in between the accelerator linkage bracket on the firewall. Now this is not uncommon to see this thin piece of sheet metal here where this bracket goes become distorted. And in fact, that's exactly what we're seeing here. We're seeing a type of distortion that is causing binding of our accelerator linkage bracket. And this could be very dangerous. We're doing this because we don't want to get in an accident when the accelerator linkage jams. Now, when this car came into my shop, it was my opinion that the linkage felt really funny. So I got this little plastic spacer. This is the door spacer from like a 108, 109 series car where the tongue goes in the door. And I'm just going to try. Now you want to hold this thing fast if possible while you get the spacer in. And then, you know, people act like this stuff is so easy. Oh, just put the accelerator linkage back together. Everything's going to be fine. It's a really easy piece of cake, man. You know, they act like this stuff is so easy. And the truth is, it's not easy at all. There's nothing easy about it. You know, you want to get into the business of restoring classic Mercedes, prepare to be humbled. See how nice and easy that moves? This is not the first car I've had to do this on either. But the binding accelerator linkage will drive you bananas. It'll drive you crazy. Still moves nice. You see how nice that moves? And there we have an accelerator linkage that doesn't bind anymore because of a throttle shaft mount that was distorted because of a distorted mounting fixture on the firewall. So I hope you people who own 113s and also 108s, it can happen in a 108, get something valuable out of this. This may be relevant in a car that's had a rusty firewall in the past or a major firewall repair where this realignment is needed. So if you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the bell for more notifications. And to our Patreon subscribers, thank you so much. And if you own a W113, then I guess you hopefully enjoy the hard work. Enjoy working on your classic Mercedes.